from PRX.
Hey everybody, this is Drew Scooter. This is, Friends Beyond the Binary. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to disengage. This is a classic Sleep with TNG episode, Snore Trek, where I look at this episode. These are from all the way in the 400s of Sleep With Me lore. Not that lore, but we do a couple episodes with that lore in it. But this is a classic episode. We're trying to put out more content in 2025 in addition to what we already put out to keep you company, to ease your discomfort in the deep, dark night, to be there for you. Now, if you like these TNG episodes, if you like Star Trek episodes, sci-fi episodes, let me know. The best way to let me know is by voting with your wallet. Sign up at Sleep With Me Plus. And let me know, hey, I signed up because I love the Who episodes. I love the TNG episodes. And let me know there's support to support the work that goes into making these. But for now, you got one coming right at you. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening. This will be a little bit looser, a little bit different style than our current stuff because this episode's about 9 years old. But like I said, I'm working here for you and trying to find more and more ways to creatively keep you company in the deep, dark night. So thanks so much for listening. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, where I encourage the people who already get a lot of value out of Sleep With Me, who listen to 2 or more episodes a week, or 2. If you listen all night, definitely pay attention right now. Or if you listen to like 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes of Sleep With Me a week, I'd love to have you support the show back so we can be here for you. But I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to try to convince you. I'm just trying to get this message through. If you already say, yeah, I know, I just keep forgetting. This is just one more reminder of how powerful your actions are when you support the show, and just giving you somebody else to identify with who did it. They were just like you. Yeah, I know I get value out of the show, but I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it the next day because I've been there too. And this comes from Nora. I was listening to Sleep With Me multiple times a week, more often than other stress relief subscriptions I actually paid for. So I decided I should start paying for this podcast. I wanted to support a podcast that was so important to me. And I really like the ad-free content and the extra Ray content. So thanks, Nora. So if you're getting more value out of Sleep With Me than stuff you already pay for, it makes your life better. And that's what I'm here to do. Keep you company, take your mind off stuff so you can fall asleep so your life can be better. And I do that. We're able to do it. The whole team of people that work on the show is able to do that because of people like Nora. So if you identify with what Nora said, you said, yeah, no, Nora did it. Now I'm going to do it tonight. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/PLUS. Sign up now and you say, oh boy, now you can go to sleep. I did what Nora did. So thanks everybody. Oh, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bart. Oh, Mystery Bart, by the way, did you know if you sign up for Sleep Phones, we're giving you some access to Sleep With Me Plus? So if you go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleepphones, not only the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me, you can get those Sleep With Me branded sleep phones. you could use the code SLEEP with me to save $5 off your order. And then when you get your sleep phones, you just send a message to Scooter through the contact form on our website, and you'll get access to Sleep With Me Plus. So get those sleep phones, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones, and then send us a message. Thanks, everybody. Are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, that's why you listen to the show Sleep With Me. Because this is actually the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with the bedtime story. And, I'm trying to refigure out this open, the beginning of it, so it's a little bit sloppy. But we do it with the bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thinking, stuff. Stuff. If you have a bed full of stuff, holy cow, I'd recommend getting it, other than bed stuff. Like I'm picturing tennis rackets, soccer balls, roller skates, have a garage sale. Maybe you could call it a bed sale. Boots, there's boot sales. There's boot sales. You could have a bed sale, but don't, maybe schedule it. Just, try to get that. I'll give you a second. I'll keep talking. Go ahead and get that soccer ball. Is that an air pump in there? Yeah, you don't want an air pump in your bed with you. But I'm going to try to distract you, whether it's stuff or thoughts or feelings, physical sensations, life events, whatever's keeping you awake. I'm going to try to take your mind off of that. I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm clutching my hands. My hands are folded because this is an important part of the show, so I can get this point across from squeezing my hands in a pentient way, in a serious way, because this is a silly podcast, but this is serious business. Because I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. Wings of pointlessness is how I glide across the world of meandering world I'm, building. And, it's just a podcast to put you at ease and to give you something else to think about other than what's keeping you awake, especially if it's stuff, And then I think I've talked, it wasn't that long ago because I was thinking of the tagline for Sleep With Me, the podcast, Fluff with Stuff. Fluffing your stuffing, I forgot. I had a great tagline. I never write these things down because I'm recording. Because I think there was a place called Fluff and Stuff in Syracuse. Might have been a head shop. Remember also there was a thing there was puffy stickers. I don't know if anybody who was alive during the great, but there's probably 2 or 3 puppy stickers. Those are always good. And then there's Fluff, and my podcast is full of stuff and fluff and stuff with fluffing while your pillows are puffing. Sleep With Me podcast. The rhymes are free as you sleep along with me. Yada yada dee, biggitly boggitly blee. Sorry, over rhyming. I've done that, but there's a lot of stuff in our life, and I'm not going to say that word CULL. I'm a terrible speller. Cool. Maybe I'll sound it out. Clutter. CLUTTER. But that could be, because that's talk about a loaded word. There's loaded baked potatoes. And it's nice if they give if you're going to load a baked potato, give it a little fluff for me. Just get some fork. Obviously you're going to do that peel. You're going to peel it back. But, before you stick in you stuff the potato with the stuffing, do some fluffing, light fluffing for me, please. Potato connoisseur, potato entrepreneurs. What was I talking about, though, before I was talking about baked potatoes? Having a bed full of stuff. I think this is part of the human condition. It's especially in the part of the world where you have advertisements. If anybody lives in the world that doesn't have advertisements, oh boy, about 80% of my joke attempts will be, because most of them are based on the incredible amount of advertising I have consumed. But, and I'm not here to point the finger, but we end up accumulating, or, in a lot of good comedy routines are about, I think that was George Carlin, but I don't know. It was, we get more stuff. You have a job, and then you got to buy, a place to put your stuff and all that. And that's just one of the things that can keep you awake. And then if you're like me, then that's kludger. Let's just call it kludger instead of the other word, the loaded word. I'm not exactly sure what kludgy is, but I think I've heard kludgy. I've heard of maybe it's kludgy, but kludgy. We'll make up a word here. I tend to be a little bit of a kludgy person. I got stuff in, I got a pile to be ignored pile, to forget about pile, say I'm going to get to that stuff. And I've been trying, but you say, even then I said stuff, oh boy, I can't wait till I get to that stuff. And all my romantic, once I get that pile out of the way, romance, here I come. I'll be running marathons and making out, I'll be doing all that. Once they get those 3 piles down, and, oh, wait, I forgot those piles, and this is a true fact. First of all, there's not 3 piles. There's a couple milk crates full of podcast notebooks, and there's another one full of loose leaf paper. But those all sit on a giant chest, and she said, I'm afraid to even look in there. I'm pretty sure my hand towel, like the towels I would dry my hands with, then I had to purchase new hand towels. She said, what happened to my hand towels? Co, did you eat the hand towels? She said, no. That's my dog, just in case you're new. And I said, maybe one time I decided to store the hand towels in that chest, but now I can't open it with all that stuff on there. Well, wipe them on my pants. That's what I do anyway, even when I have a hand towel. But so that my life can be a little bit kludgy or whatever. Yeah, kludgy. Not that other word with the T's, because T's are so kludge. You could call me the kludge. How about that? It's a new character for the podcast. He doesn't use that word with the double T because that's so harsh, but the kludge. I like that. Remember I had the noosh? That was my friend's daughter, Anushka. And I did say, I don't know if he ever listens, Zach. Are you listening? Probably not. Zach's he's one of these writers that can actually get a ton of writing done. I always admired that about him. He's constantly churning out material. But he also had a daughter, but he did not want me to call his daughter the noosh. And I wasn't even talking about me. I said, you should start it so that when she gets to school and stuff, she's known as the noosh. But I'll be what did I say? The kludge? Yeah, that's not bad. The kludge. I could, maybe we could get, if the Fugees get back together, we could work together. Anyone from the Fugees listening. I have opened podcasts before saying I'm pillowing you softly with my words. It would help if I could get it out without mangling any of it. Pillowing you softly with my words. Pillowing you softly. But I'm a kludge. I got piles of stuff. I fumble over my words, but I do it for you, publicly. On my own. It's a lot easier to do that kind of stuff on your own when it's just your regular routine. But the reason I, concentrated and edit it and share it for you is to take your mind off stuff, because I've been there after the kludging's done. When the kludge lies down to rest, that's when they say, well, you really kludged it up today, kludge. And they say, well, yeah, I had a long day, brain. Well, yeah, you were just kludging. You were kludging, and And I say, yeah, I know. I was aware. I was there when it all went down. Well, I think you forgot about that other kludgy thing you did with the thing. And also there's been spinach on your teeth all day. Oh, thanks, brain. So if anything is like that for you at bedtime, or it could be something physical, or it could be something It could be anything. It could just be an example that's barely tangentially related. If I could be a little bit goofy, a little bit silly, and take your mind off of stuff for a little while. And here's the deal. You don't really have to listen to me. You can listen. You can kind of tune in and then let me drift away into the background. And maybe, I just become a klooge and the nooge. Or maybe you can't sleep because I'll be here for another 50 minutes or so, giving it my all. Try to be a little bit goofy, a little bit silly. Tonight we're going to be talking about Star Trek, the pilot episodes, Encounter at Farpoint. It'll be my second episode talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that is Klooge City. I'll include you in the klooging. But this whole podcast is you're under no pressure to fall asleep. You're under no pressure to listen. Just kick back. Some people put this on while they're brushing their teeth. Some people put it on when they're already in bed. Some people put it on during the day when they, just need background noise or they need a distraction. And if I can just drain a little bit of the seriousness out of it, I try to do that. But especially when you get that brain saying, well, so I was kludging and klooging. Well, yeah, and also fudging. You were, they say, well, it's just messy. It wasn't, particularly messing things up. It was, let me, be your boyfriend, be your distractor in chief. It'll be my honor. And if you're new here, this podcast is a bit different, a bit strange, goofy, can be irritating. Let's not lie. Like I can get on a certain number. Let's see, how many people are in America? 250. 250. I can get on people's nerves. Give the podcast a few tries. If it doesn't work for you, it's no pressure. No pressure on you. I appreciate you investing the time, but I hear from a lot of skeptical people that's a smart way to approach a podcast that says it's going to put you to sleep. And, for those people that give it a few tries, it works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody, but I really hope it works for you if you're up there at night tossing and turning, having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, waking up in the middle of the night and getting back to sleep, because I've been there in the deep, dark night. So I'm glad you're here. I appreciate your time. And I really hope, I not only hope, so much more than hope, I strive and I yearn to help you fall asleep, all right? Hey, everybody, this is Scoots here in this part of the show where I say, hey, if you get a lot out of Sleep With Me, right? You listen to Sleep With Me 2 or more times a week. You listen to more than 2 episodes a week. I'd love it, if you go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/PLUS right now and sign up to support the show. And then tomorrow when you're resting, you could set up the bonus content, because this message is only for those people, right? Those people who already know you want to support the show. It's just getting you over that last thing to go to that website and sign up. I'm not here to convince anybody because, like another supporter said, hey, I get more than I give, right? So Susan said, feels good to support a talented, hardworking creator who generously shares his life experience, sense of humor, care, and compassion with his audience. I found great comfort and or happy distraction in so many episodes. And here's to many more years to Sleep With Me and Ray episodes. And it feels good because I know my support back makes a huge difference and I get a lot of value out of the podcast. And that is from Susan, right? So if you get a lot of value out of podcasts like Susan did, if you love Ray, Fearless Flyers, you want more, and you want the show to be around for you and for everybody else, right? And you want to empower the show back for what it does for you. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/PLUS. But thank you so much, Susan, and everybody who supports the show, whether it's through Sleep With Me Plus, through referring people to the show, or sponsors. I appreciate it. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about Encounter at Farpoint, which is it was the first episode. Let me just read a little bit from Wikipedia to set the mood here. Series premiere and first episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Premiered in syndication, September 28th, 1987. That is even more impressive. I had no idea. I mean, holy mackerel, that is so, I mean, wow. It was written by D.C. Fontana and Gene Roddenberry and directed by Corey Allen. Roddenberry was the creator of Star Trek, and Fontana was a writer on the original series. The series was made as a pilot for the new Star Trek series in a double-length episode for Paramount Television Group's insistence. After the show was initially announced in 1986, Roddenberry put together a production team. New actors were hired. Sometimes they had to rehire. And sometimes people, that's not important. So what's important was the year, September 28th, 1987. A couple of the extra actors are John Delancey, who plays Q, who, we'll be talking about it probably a lot over the next couple months or years. Michael Bell, who played Groppler Zorn. And I think that's probably it. DeForest Kelley played Leonard McCoy, Bones. Is that Bones McCoy? DeForest Kelley, but that was but that was a kind of tribute to the original Star Trek. And maybe we'll do a run through. This is kind of like a two-parter for me. I mean, this is like a double length, so about an hour and a half. And so we'll run through the whole episode, and then maybe we'll talk about, because what I was really struck by was a lot of interesting things. And I'd never seen this episode before, the first time I watched it, which was months ago when I decided, I've been watching Star Trek Next Generation for months, now that we're doing this in the lead up, get my feet wet and make sure this was viable. But, so the first time I watched it was a few months ago, once I decided, okay, we're going to do Star Trek Next Generation for this show. And so it was really informative, and it's a really different episode, than a normal episode, I would say. So not just the length, but it gives us a little glimpse into certain characters, just like a pilot would. And in some way, in a really not too terrible way, a lot of stuff. And a couple of things I really loved, the first time I saw it, the fact that Picard doesn't here's a spoiler, Picard doesn't like kids. The fact that they make him uncomfortable, it just really struck me as okay, I really like I don't know if it's the being of this program. Now I get it. I don't know. I guess that would be an endearing thing. It endeared it to me. And then having Q on the first episode is another big plus. And it's just a lot of great things. So let's do some run through. Encounter at Farpoint. It opens with the opening. Well, I put opens with open. The ship in center screen falls in to the screen. And Picard walks out of the shadows, and Picard walks fast. It's a new command of a Galaxy-class ship. They're short a first officer who's at Deneb 4, and their task is to solve the mystery of Farpoint Station. Data does not know Snoop. Oh, they're talking about, what are they doing? And they say, okay, we're going to snoop. We're going to try to get clues. And he goes, you mean seek covertly? And then Counselor Troy, senses a powerful mind. And then the ship's alarm goes off. There's something strange. It's a force field, he says. And then Picard starts to get irritable, which is great. He goes, shut off that damn noise. And then we see the Enterprise is caught in some kind of energy net, like a force field. And again, this is in 1987, so these effects, they really stand up. I've been watching on Amazon, but I think it's also on Netflix. It says HD. Now, I don't know what that means as far as the 1080, whatever, but really this show, man, talk about a show that has legs. But they say, come to full stop. there's a flash appearance of a man in a giant hat with a feather in a breastplate. He looked like a battling painter, like a Renaissance painter with a breastplate. And he had jacket with high boots. And he goes, "You've gone too far to return to your galaxy." And then they say, well, what are you? I don't know who said that, but he goes, "We call ourselves the Q." And then he kind of locks the crew off the bridge. Everybody's trying to come on. And Q's walking around like he even has like a foil, like for fencing style. And then at some point, Q says, captain to captain, he goes, "Go back to where thou came." And then somebody tries to come at him. He says, stay where you are. He freezes that guy. Picard says, "Stay to get a hold of medicine." And Picard's kind of exasperated now because he says, what are you doing, man? This is just wrong. He goes, he wasn't up to anything. But he kind of has this face off with Q, because Q's like, "Hit the road or else," and Picard's not happy. Then there's an ad. They come back from the ad, and it says, "Captain's Log Supplementary." He froze one of our guys, and we're seeing this powerful Q being. Do we dare oppose it? And then Q is a WW2 officer, like smoking cigarettes and talking about, 400 years ago. He goes, "Go back to your, world. You guys have been up to no good. Human beings are no good. You're not good to each other. You're not good to anybody else. You got your tribal god images, and you're never going to change." Which I guess this is a great theme for the opening episode of the series. Like, the humans aren't going to, I guess, so, like, is this what is a jingoism for all of humankind instead of just for your country? Where you say, "Hey, let's make a TV series about how great humans are." And they say, "Well, we're the only ones we're the only ones going to watch it, Gene." "Yeah, but we're the best, Okay, wait. Yeah, well, it'll be a series about how great we are for the universe, better than we are now. Big plan." Because it is I'm being facetious, really is good. Also, I forgot we got a view of Worf, who's I don't want to say who my favorite character is, but it's Worf, I think. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it. I'm doing a podcast about Star Trek Next Generation. I'm still not Worf. I do like a lot of the characters. I just think I connect with, there's a couple of good episodes about Worf, so we'll leave it at that. But, whatever he says, Q's whole thing is, will humans never change? And then he says, you want to see your rapid progress. And then he changes to another weird outfit, like post-winter on Earth. And he keeps criticizing humans. Same old story. Over and over again. But Picard says, "Oh, no, the same old story as you, some self-righteous life form that's not just here to judge, not try to understand or tolerate." And Q says, "Great idea, let's do some judging. What if we figure it out?" And Picard says, "I'm not afraid of being judged by you fairly." And then Q says, "Great idea, Captain. You're a veritable fountain of ideas. Preparations to make. I'll be back, and we'll proceed." And then in a flash, he's gone, and Worf says, "All right, we got to take, we got to be ready to rumble. Should we rumble or should we escape?" And Counselor Troy says, she says, "According to, my sense is that we should avoid contact with these beings." And Picard says, "All right, let's see what this ship can do." And he says, "Let's get some maximum acceleration to see if we can outrun this." And he says, "Engage." And then they get up to 9.2, and then Q's still on their tail or something. Then they get up to 9.3 warp. And then at some point, Picard says, "Hey, any guesses about what this is, Troy? Counselor Troy?" She says, "Beyond a life form, very advanced." And then Picard says, "We got to go faster." And Data says, "Faster, Data's project, too much risk." So then they say, well, we'll separate the saucer and protect the families and the rest of the crew. Worf will command the saucer, which Worf doesn't want to do, of course. He doesn't want to run. So then they take Data and Worf. They clear the bridge. They go to this battle bridge, I guess, or something. Yeah, Picard heads to the battle bridge. Then there's a commercial. Then we see lots of civilians and families. Everyone's walking very fast. Something about torpedoes and separations with music or something. Sepatanian music. But then I think this is when the thing's separating. We get all these reaction shots of the crew. Successful. Maybe that's the getaway. Then more reaction shots. Then a separation shot. Okay, with stem turns. I think this is when the thing separated, the saucer, and then they turn different ways. And then Picard on the ship, they wait for Q, and Picard talks to Tasha Yar, who's the head of security. She says, what do you think we should do for a plan? And then they say, he says, send us out on all languages and frequencies. We surrender with no terms. And then the ship starts shaking because the Q's caught up with them, and they surround the ship in the barrier. And the next thing you hear is laughing and jeering, and you see this red banner with a black eagle on it. It's Picard, Troy, Data, and Yar. And this is like a holy Terry Gilliam Batman. This was like a scene from a Terry Gilliam movie in a good way. I mean, definitely I would have liked to a good thing they have Twitter in 1987, because, man, I can imagine the harshness. Like maybe people were, they say, what is this, a Star Trek? But I think it was cool. And it was very, is like this dystopian feel to it, which was like past Earth. But let me get into it. It's a strange crowd. There's a man in a Santa hat, man in a robe. I didn't put an E there. I put R-O-B. In a Santa-like hat, a staff with a ribbon on it. And he's talking to Picard and the crew. He says, the prisoners will stand. So Picard says, hey, let's sit down. And Data finds this intriguing because it's so accurate. The post, what do you call it? Dystopian Earth that's in the past now. And Troy says, this is not an illusion or a dream, even though it's in the past. She goes, this is real. It's not fake. It's the mid-21st century. Is that where we're 20? We're 21st century, but we're not the mid-21st century yet. There's also like very Terry Gilliam things, like someone in the crowd has an umbrella. Or maybe that's a Mad Maxian with no claw, just an umbrella or skeleton. And they say, make way for the drudge. And they say, get to your feet. And then Q makes this grand entrance in like this giant floating throne. It's got like white face paint on or very pale skin, this red gown. It reminded me of like something out of an Amadeus opera. And there's red cape and gloves. That's on Q. Lion's head's on the throne. Then Tasha Yar gets out of order, and everyone cracks up because they freeze her. That's very Gilliam. Just the way the audience is, and just a level of good kind of strangeness. For me, I don't know if you could say it's a cohesive strangeness, which would be like something like Twin Peaks is I don't know. Let's not get into semantics of strangeness. Gingerbread Press 3030. They're worried about the Freyr trial. Oh yeah, they say that, and then they, they're there to answer for their species. Then Data objects. Then Tasha Yar objects to the whole court, so she gets frozen. Then everyone laughs and jeers. They say, you've got a lot to learn. And then Q yawns. at how boring the trial is. And Picard is not happy, but Q's like, concentrate on your trial. And he says, because if this is a fair trial, you're going to lose. But then, or maybe that Picard says that, but then they get to Tasha thawed out, which the crowd doesn't like. Then their bells ring to silence the crowd. And Q says legal trickery will not be permitted. And Picard says, well, what is this? We're guilty until we're guilty until we're proven innocent. And, it is. And Q's kind of like, well, that's what the humans have earned. And Picard's like, well, I'm going to only answer specific charges. So then Q says, well, present the charges. Oh, also, there's a little bit we learn about Tasha Yar. She says, I grew up on a world with courts like this. And so Starfleet is what saved me from a world like this. And Picard, reads the charges suspensefully. Then he hands them back. And he sees, I see no charges against us. And they say, you are out of order. Then there was this weird camera angle. I'm not sure what happened. It almost looked like there was a blanket over the camera when it's on Picard. And Q tries to make Picard plead guilty. He does something, one laughs. He does lovely, one laughs. Provisionally Q. Let me look this up. I don't know, but let's see, provisionally Q, but Q lounges in the chair. Oh, Data plays back recordings of Picard saying, will this be a fair trial? And Picard, he's like, we're proof humans have advanced. Test us. And Q's like, oh, yeah, great. Farpoint will be an excellent test for you. Court adjourned. Stand respectfully, everyone. Bonus, everyone bows as Q leaves. And then Q has this great line. He says, Captain, you may find you are not clever enough for what awaits you. And then the next thing you know, they're back on the ship, the normal ship. And O'Brien, no one even knows they were gone, I think. And then we have person log Commander William Riker, stardate 4115. 41, I don't know how they say it, 41153.7, dropped off by the USS Hood, USS Harry Hood, and it says, I'm waiting for the Enterprise, or I'm going to be the first officer. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to talk to the administrator in the old city. But Riker goes to meet with this Groppler Zorn. It's to talk about a name for me to grapple with, Groppler Zorn. Zorn's easy, but Groppler... this guy had a great voice, Groppler Zorn. They share an awkward handshake. And the mystery of Farpoint is that Riker's trying to figure out is oh, this is incredible. You built this perfect station. And then Zorn's like, you want some fruit? And Picard, or Riker's like, well, I could go for an apple. He goes, oh, well, there's no... He goes, oh, wait, no, here's a magical bowl of apples. It was behind this other bowl. And Riker's like, I don't think that was there before. And Groppler Zorn's like, well, doesn't it make you feel welcome or something? And he says, anyway, he goes, I just want to get my questions answered. And Zorn's like, this is a great station. You don't need to ask that many questions. And then Riker says, all right, I'm going to eat my apple. I'll see you later. And then after he leaves, let's see. Easy answers won't make it appreciate any less. Oh, then, yeah, after Riker leaves, Zorn's mad at some mysterious force, kind of chastising it for making those apples appear. And then we meet Wesley and Beverly Crusher. Riker meets them via, we meet them via Riker. They go for a stroll in the shopping district. And Wesley's kind of funny. He goes, if you're wondering about my mom, Commander Riker, she's not unfriendly. She's just shy around men she doesn't know. And then she's like, Wesley, you little, and she says, I think that just means he wants us to be friends. And then Riker's, well, I want to investigate some stuff while we're here. I want to be useful, get some stuff done. And then Crusher's also looking at this material. She says, geez, I wish this, material would have gold in it. And next thing you know, there's some, like a bolt of, what do you call that stuff you make clothes with? Cloth. But Crusher said, yeah, sorry, I'm just giving you a hard time about, creating work to curry favor with our new captain. But she says, maybe this is something weird going on here with this stuff. And she said, maybe Jean-Luc would like us to check it out. And Riker says, Jean-Luc? You mean Captain Picard? And Wesley says, yeah, he helped with when my father passed. He helped us. And Dr. Crusher says, that was a long time ago. Anyway, Commander, we got to roll. And he says, yeah, my problem meeting you both. See you on board. And then we meet Geordi LaForge, and he says, sir, the Enterprise is arriving. And then Riker gives him a little business. He says, is this an official report, Geordi? And he goes, oh, sorry, Commander. Sir, Lieutenant LaForge reporting. The Enterprise is rising, but without the saucer section, sir. That's tough to say, saucer section, sir. Riker says, star drive only. What happened? He goes, I don't know, but Captain Picard said for you to beam up immediately. Riker says, our new captain doesn't waste time. That's a great idea. Thanks, Lieutenant. LaForge says, aye, sir. And next thing you know, Riker's ready to beam up. Also, I missed a note here. When he says there's no saucer section, it's like one of those what? K moments, which I love. What? And then Riker beams up, and then there's a commercial. Orbit Sans Saucer or Sansa. I don't know if I was writing about poetry about Sansa Stark in here. Sansa Stark, Saucer, Sir, section. Sansa Saucers, section, Saucers, Sir, in the snow. But Tasha waits. I don't know what she's waiting for. Lieutenant Yar. Oh, she's waiting for Picard or Riker. She says, all right, let me take you to the battle bridge. And Riker says, something interesting must have happened, huh? And she says, yeah, when we get to the battle bridge, the captain will tell you, Mr. Questions, I'm security. And then they're in a standard parking orbit, and Picard says, let me bring you up to date on our little adventure. This was funny. They showed him, video highlights. Again, very futuristic. It was like a YouTube video. And he said the saucer's on its way, but after watching the video with Q, Riker's totally stumped. And so then we have the captain and his number one alone for a little convo, I think, or maybe they're, maybe let me see. Let's see, captain plus number one. He goes, Picard puts the pressure on him right away. He says, Commander Riker will dock the ship, and then they get right to work. Crew and Riker, oh boy, they're doing this manual docking. So I assume this was to kind of show off the potential of the ship and the wonderful special effects, but also show off Riker's effectiveness in high-pressure situations. He really does well. Oh boy, plenty of shots. Riker rolls in, and then he says, her inertia should do the job now. And he says to lock it up, and then they do reaction shots of Data, they call him in the show. Tasha and O'Brien, they're all really impressed, and somebody smiles. Riker's pleased, but then Riker's drinking tea, and he starts testing Riker. He says, well, that was a fairly routine maneuver. And Riker says, well, thanks, man. I hope I showed promise. He goes, I have some questions for you. He goes, I thought you would, sir. He goes, I saw Captain DeSoto likes you. He goes, one thing. He goes, you refused to let him bring him down to Altar 3. And Riker says, well, it's too risky for the captain. And Picard says, well, I guess captain's rank doesn't mean anything to you. Riker says the reverse. He goes, captain's life means a lot. And Picard says, well, don't you think a Starfleet captain can make, isn't that presumptuous of you to second guess a captain's judgment? And then you get this, moment. It was permission to speak candidly, sir. One of these moments with these officers we're always waiting for. And Picard says, always. And maybe Picard was hoping he would say, well, Captain DeSoto's a buffoon, but, that would incriminate Riker. But Riker says, well, I guess you were a first officer once, and you must know that the safety of the captain, I can follow rules, but I'm not going to compromise your safety. And Picard says, really? You're going to put me first? I like that. And Picard says, one more thing. He goes, well, since this is a wonderful, wonderful moment. I don't have the timestamp, but really important for me to be like, I'm really going to enjoy this, watching this Star Trek Next Generation. He says, using the same kind of strength you showed with DeSoto, I appreciate if you keep me making an ass of myself with children. And Riker says, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm not a family man, Riker. He goes, but this is a ship with children aboard. I don't feel comfortable with children, but since I have to be a genial captain, I got to project that. Riker says, don't worry, bro, I got your back. And then I says, sweet, you guys are going to get along great. Then we get like a little backstory, like not backstory, but exposition about Geordi's vision and how that works. And, because he's with Dr. Crusher getting an exam. Another interesting thing we learn is that Geordi, in order to see with his visor, it's painful for Geordi, which is just an interesting thing. In that Crusher's like, well, you could take painkillers, and LaForge says, well, then I wouldn't be able to use, see. And then Crusher says, well, we could desensitize your brain. And he said, no, I'll live with the pain so I can, have this electronic vision. Then we got Riker on the bridge. He says, where's Data at? He goes, a special assignment, transferring our admiral over to another ship. And then this is when we see Bones. And we just get a little McCoy, a little comedy routine. And we learn about, he thinks that Data's a Vulcan, but Data can explain, I'm an android. And McCoy says, make sure ship's got a great name, so don't mess it up. And that was like a spot where I took a break. But yeah, so it's just kind of I think that's like the middle part with this little comedy routine, with Data seeing Bones off board. All right, so there's an ad break after Data and Bones go start their walk, and then you see two starships and one flies off, and Picard says, just send that message. Riker says, oh yeah, bon voyage, mon ami. And Picard seems very chipper, I put. And then Q shows up and says, you're wasting time, Captain. And then, what's his name? Worf tries to go after the viewer because Q's on the viewer. And he says, 24 hours, Captain. And then, Worf apologizes. He says, we must proceed at our own pace, I think Picard says. Then it says, Picard, chippy futility. I'm not sure what that means. Picard, chippy futility. And they say, well, geez, what are we going to do, Captain? He says, we're going to do what we do if Q never existed. He goes, if we're going to be troubled, let's get trouble for what we're supposed to be doing. And then we have a personal log start date 41153.8, 24 hours, Captain Picard says, and 11 have gone by, but I'm waiting. I think we're going to be tested. And then Riker and Picard are still trying to figure out how they built this Farpoint, which is the mystery of the kind of show. I mean, you have the mystery of the Q. And then you have kind of, especially in the second half, how'd they build this? There's this kind of more basic planet, but they have this great station built there to exact specifications. None of the materials exist on the planet. And so Picard and Riker are kind of discussing it, and beaming down, move to it, sir. But Riker also has this thing about he says, I think this grappler's Zorn and the people they're trying to please us. That's like kind of a hint, because in his reports, they said what that thing with the apples. And then Ricard and Riker getting ready goes, we've asked Counselor Troy to join us. And that's all these funny takes. Oh boy. You could see on their faces there's some awkwardness. And in this one, I guess I haven't watched enough, but Troy starts speaking to Riker, and she calls him let me think. She says, "Can you still sense my thoughts, Zindi or Mazdi?" And Picard says, have you two met before, or are you just communicating by mind already? And I think Picard or someone says, I too could never say goodbye. Maybe that's Troy. But so we get that learning moment. Picard doesn't like kids. Data's an android. Geordi. So we're getting all these little hints about the characters that'll do as well. But they end up at the planet, desolate, we see, and they're in a meeting with Grappler Zoid, who doesn't like Betazoids. That's what Counselor Troy is, a Betazoid, because he feels like they could read their minds. But Counselor Troy says, no, I can only detect emotions, Grappler. I'm half Betazoid. My father. Hello, mudda, hello, fada. No, she says, my father was a Starfleet officer. And Counselor, whatever the dude's name is, I can't believe I just forgot it. Grappler Zorn says, well, I got nothing to hide. And then they're like, well, we'd like to hire you or learn your techniques. And Grappler Zorn says, well, we just kind of want to be left alone. Just want you to use this star base, but we don't want to do everything else. We just want to, he goes, we're the bandy people. We like staying home. And he goes, if you can't get that, we'll make an allegiance with the Ferengi. And something about that makes Counselor Troy take a breath. And they say, geez, what's going on? She goes, pain and loneliness, despair. I don't know if it's the Grappler or the people. It's something else. They're very upset. Grappler's, was irritated. What else? He feels they might be. Oh, and then also Picard says, well, geez, the Ferengi would love you, Grappler Zorn. They find, Ferengi or whatever he goes, they find you tasty. Then Riker goes looking for, Data on the ship. He gets directions from the Q, from the crew. Also, we see kind of this mapping system they have where it can guide you. Also, the person the woman he asked, she looked right at his butt, and I caught that. Then we get a taste of the holodeck because Riker goes into the forest on the holodeck. His mind is blown. He does this hello across the river. Data is practicing whistling, so that's another cool, Data practices whistling. Pop goes the weasel. And him and Riker do a duet for a second. And I think that says Data's practicing. Then Riker says, let's roll, man. We got work to do. But then they talk about, Riker's like, what are you, a machine? Or what do I call you? It? Should I call you it? And Data says, don't you trust me? He goes, Riker goes, nope. And he goes, well, prejudice is very human. And Riker goes, what do you think, you're better than us? He goes, well, actually I am. But he goes, all of my superiority I'd give up to be a human. And he says, nice to meet you, Pinocchio. And then Riker's like, that was a joke, by the way. And then you see they're going to get along great. You just get the sense, okay, they get each other now. Then Wesley comes in. He's so excited. They talk about the woodland. Oh, there's an ad. Then they talk about the woodland and how simulation actually is real because of the replicators. That was interesting, too. At some point we'll get back to that. Wesley shows up, but Wesley's so excited he falls in the river. Data rescues him. Picard doesn't like, a wet Wesley. He says, what the heck? Then Wesley's with Mom. He's all jazzed, but he really wants to see the bridge. And his mom's like, well, that's against his standing orders. Wesley says, what, are you afraid of the captain like everybody else? The captain's kind of not so nice. And Dr. Crusher says, well, your father liked him. Great explorers are often lonely. No chance to have a family. And then Wesley goes, come on, Mom, I'll stay in the elevator. Just let me look at the bridge. Asking for trouble. Then we see a Farpoint model, or maybe that was a shot of it. Then the crew, Riker sends Troy. Oh, Riker's like, Troy, Tasha, Geordi, you're going to go below the station to check the passages underneath it. Me and Data are going to roll in another way. And they start doing readings like, this stuff is off the charts. And then Troy tunes in, Counselor Troy. She detects a lot of pain. And then they beam down. And Riker says, what in the hell kind of place is this? And Geordi says, this is like no place I've ever seen. So they'll go, let's go deeper. I think there's an ad break here. I can't read my handwriting. And then we see the Enterprise. And we get another what the hell as Riker sees Dr. Crusher and Wesley standing. And he says, no children on the bridge. And Crusher says, permission to report to the captain. And they say, well, geez, he's not on the bridge. He's just looking. She goes, that's my son, by the way. Crusher says, Picard says, your son? Holy cow. He goes, come on over. Because I knew your dad. He goes, you can look around, but don't touch anything. And then we see Wesley's a bit of a prodigy. He knows everything about the ship and how to work everything already, how things work, multispectral imaging. And then they say, that's when Picard says, how the heck do you know that? And Wesley says, perimeter alert. He's like touching stuff. And then Picard says, off the bridge. And then Worf says, sir, you got a perimeter alert, a little bit of comedy. Also, Picard was really humbled and kind. When he meets Wesley, he cleared his throat. He said, I knew your father, Wesley. Wesley is total amazeballs. There's even like a Picard, there's like this VR moment. It's like POV because Picard says to us, to the camera, hey, sit in the chair. Then they get off the bridge, and Worf says, you have a perimeter alert, son. And Crusher says, as my son told you. Then they say, inbound and vessel, like actual UFO, unidentified vessels coming in. It's covered in purple light. They go to add. And then Captain, they're on the bridge. They say, give me Grappler Zorn. He goes, Grappler, who the heck's coming here? The Ferengi or what? And Grappler Zorn says, nobody. That was it. I made that up. There was no Ferengi. I was lying. And the ship, they say, I think Geordi says that this ship's 12 times our volume. So it's a massive, massive ship. And they shoot a purple beam onto the Enterprise. The sense, and they say, geez, I think the sense was, I think we just got scanned. Next thing you know, we're below the planet, close to an answer. Someone does not want us in touch with our ship because they can't get a hold of their ship, obviously. Then we're back on the bridge. They say, computer's got no record of a ship like this, and our sensors are bouncing off of it. Then the ship starts sending purple beams down to the old western town. And the crew on the planet, they're trying to get out, but then the purple beams are coming. Troy is like, the Riker's like, we'll split up. Me and Data will go to the dangerous spot. You get back to the ship. But Troy's worried about Riker's safety. He says, hey, follow orders. Then we got Grappler Zorn's freaking out. He says, tune that down. What does that mean? Tune that down in my notes here. I don't know. But then Picard says, go get Zorn. And maybe he has some answers. What do you think that means? Tune that down. And then Picard and Troy talk. This is a good conversation. They talk about the Prime Directive a little bit. Because Picard says, well, geez, what are we supposed to do? And Troy says, well, it wouldn't be violating the Prime Directive. They're not allies, but we're in the midst of diplomatic discussions, so we should protect them. So Picard says, fire it up, Tasha. And she goes, phasers locked on. And then Q shows up as the judge, Judge Q. It's hard to say. And he says, typical, you're just going to shoot that other ship with your phasers. And Captain says, this is our protocol, dude, to protect my crew. I'm not about to do anything. Safety precaution. And Q says, I know what you're up to. As plain as the nose on your face. You're not civilized. And if you were, you'd be doing something about the people on the planet. And Picard says, hey, Dr. Crusher, what are you doing? She said, getting ready to go down to the planet and help people. And Picard says, what do you think about that, know-it-all? Meaning of what is that? I don't know. I can't read my writing here. Meaning of S, but he says, some meaning of something not trained in clear thinking. I think that's what Q was saying, that we're not trained in clear thinking. And then Picard says, I got an idea. Let's we'll get between the ship and the planet. And then they say, well, we don't have control. Something happened with that scan. And then Data and Riker, they're in a bunch of dust. And Riker says, Data, are you undamaged? And Data jumps up. He says, systems are operating. Then Grappler Zorn's under Grappler Zorn's desk crying. And Riker shows up. He says, you can drive them away. And Zorn tries to explain it because Riker's like, drive who away? And Zorn's like, never mind, I don't know. And Data goes, you do, because you were in charge of all bandy contact with other worlds. And Zorn's like, we didn't do anything. And Riker's like, well, I guess we'll go then. And Zorn's like, no, please don't go. And then Zorn just gets beamed away. And then Riker says, some sort of transporter took purple transporter. And sensing satisfaction, that's what Troy says about it. And then Picard yells at Q. He says, this is enough, man. And he says, temper. Q says this, temper, mon capitan. He goes, I'm trying to assist here. He goes, maybe I'll just deal with Riker. And Picard says, don't do anything. And he goes, what are you going to, Q goes, by the way, what are you up to? And he goes, well, I'm not risking my Q. He goes, we're going to go over to that ship. He goes, you should know what you'll find there. Or perhaps it's too adult and a puzzle for you. And Riker's like, Captain, I want to get over there and check it out. Too adult a puzzle. I'll attend to my duty to the bitter end. Oh, that's what Picard says. I'll attend to my duty, and Q says, to the bitter end. And Picard says, I see nothing so bitter. And then there's this, I had to put WTF double question mark, because then in the height of this, so they're about to, the Bandy planet's getting hit with purple beams from this giant ship who is taking over the controls of the Enterprise. And Picard says, you know what, this is a perfect time for me to apologize for, and Q was just on board. He said, I got to go by and apologize to Dr. Crusher, which is just strange. He goes to Dr. Crusher's office, and he goes, she said, I don't want you to think I was harsh and cold-blooded. She goes, why would you think that? He goes, well, I didn't welcome you on board, and then I yelled at your kid. And he goes, but he's a sharp kid. And she goes, well, he just won a mother's heart. And he goes, you can see some awkwardness. They say, were these two involved or not? And I'm not looking up spoilers, so I think I've seen them share looks. Oh, yeah, and they danced in one episode. But she says, he says, well, why'd you got assigned here? Couldn't you have turned it down? And she goes, do you have a problem? He goes, no, you're the perfect chief medical officer. And she goes, you got a problem? He goes, no, I'm just worried about your feelings, doctor. when you're commanding officer and you're a husband. And she goes, I requested this assignment. He goes, what? And she goes, I can serve on this vessel without worrying about my feelings. He says, well, welcome aboard. And then they shake hands. I hope we can be friends. Then we have Data, Troy, Riker, and Yar. They head over to the other ship. It's the same tunnels as below. And they're like, there's no power and no equipment on this ship, so the mystery deepens still. And Counselor Troy says, I'm detecting some hate, but only for the old bandy city. And Data said, most intriguing, yeah, because it was firing at not at Starpoint, but at the home of those who constructed it. And then there was like this wicked cool stoned moment, like almost like Data stoned. Because he goes to Riker, he goes, sorry, sir, I seem to be commenting on everything. I mean, this is really gold. It's hard to pinpoint how, I don't know, it just really stuck out to me. He goes, sorry, sir, I seem to be like, it was both meta humor. It's also something you like when you're wicked high. Maybe, not that I would know, and kids don't do it, but they're like, wait a second, was I commenting on everything? Or like, I don't know, I just thought it was funny. And then Riker says, don't stop, man. I love it. And then there's nothing like any vessel. And then they see Zorn in this like purple holder, like an energy vortex. And then they say, that's it. And like Troy says, there's only one alien I'm sensing, Zorn. And Zorn wants out of the ship, but so Riker and Data kind of phase Zorn onto like out of the thing. And in the bridge, the ship starts up. Captain says, get them out of there, because they say, what is this ship going to do? Then the Q shows up. Oh, no. Then Picard says, you know what, Q, get my crew back safely and I'll do whatever you want. He goes, my people are in trouble. And Q says, whatever I say. He goes, yeah, I'll make that argument. I'll make that bargain. But the away team like came back right around the same time. And Troy goes, oh, by the way, it wasn't Q that did that. And then Q says, you better do something. And Riker says, it wasn't. He goes, the ship sent us back. And Troy says, it's not a vessel, sir. It's an actual being. That ship is a being. And then Q says, do it. Let's strike while the iron's hot. And Picard says, no way. And then Zorn says, yeah, do it. It's shooting purple stuff at my planet. And Picard says, well, why? And Q says, because, it's an unknown. And Q's also dressed as a Starfleet officer. And he goes, if you earned that uniform, you'd know the unknown is what brings us out here, Q. And Q says, well, wasted effort considering the human intelligence. And then Picard says, well, let's do some deductions here. He goes, starting with those tunnels under Farpoint, Grappler. Hey, how come they're the same ones, Riker says, on the ship? He goes, why was the ship punishing you, Grappler? And Picard says, were you doing something to another creature? Because that ship's a creature. And Zorn's like, well, no, we were helping it. And Picard says, helping it. And then Picard says, let's beam some energy down to Farpoint. I think it's a creature. And then they say, oh, and Riker says, Captain. He goes, oh, wow, it's a creature that can convert energy into matter, which we kind of saw with the forest in the holodeck. That's how Data explains it to Riker. Oh, this converts energy into matter. And Picard says, yeah, specific matter, just like our transporters do. And it becomes like these space jellyfish, or like in a little bit, this was the 80s, so one's blue and one's pink. And Picard says, geez, you caught one. And they love each other. They're a pair. And Troy says, yeah, there's a pair of creatures, one in grief and one with anger at the loss of love. And, just trying to get their mate back. And so Q says, oh, it was too simple a puzzle. Generosity is always our weakness. And then they say, Grappler Zorn, there'll soon be no Farpoint station. And then, so Farpoint turns into another jellyfish. I guess I got ahead of myself. Let's see what else. Captured a mate, Troy and Riker. Oh, Troy and Riker share a look when it says you've captured its mate. I say, well, it used to be my mate. And they energize the station. The creature takes off. It's brilliantly blue. And then they hold hands. They have like feathered tentacles. And they say, hey, let's fly off together. This is great. And they close it out. They say, oh, you must have been using the creature. You know, you say, well, if you make this space station for us, we'll, and Zorn says, yep. And then Troy says, I feel feelings of joy and gratitude from both of them. And then Picard goes, Q, why do you use the life forms for fun? You know, who do you think you are? And he goes, well, I'm the best at providing fun. And then Picard says, get out of here, man. We've passed your tests. And Q says, temper, mon capitan. And this is really good when you think about, you know, human interactions. Because Picard says, get off my ship. And Q is kind of superior. He says, oh, yeah, only because I want to leave, though, not because you told me. But maybe I'll be back. And then I think it just goes to Captain's log. It's the agreement for rebuilding Farpoint's been set up. And then we have this, like, whatever you call that, post thing on the bridge. Picard says, all stations, and Data says, ready for departure. And Picard said, what do you think, Riker? He goes, well, I hope this isn't how our usual missions will go, sir. And Picard says, oh, no, number one. It'll be much more interesting. Let's see what's out there. Engage. And with that, the Enterprise sailed into its second round of history as you sail away on the bed sheets of the night. Good night. Hey, this is Scoots here, tucking you in with a message from Roberta. I've been reading through these people who support the show, who chose to support the podcast, because me kind of pointing out, hey, you should support the podcast because of this, or you get these sweet benefits or whatever. It just, I realized, one, I'm only trying to get this message across to people, that already want to support the show and kind of give them a little boost to do it, right, to overcome that last piece of resistance. Like, I realized, hey, why don't you just read what the people that did that part of their thing, don't bother, oh, I don't know, I'll do it later or whatever. So just reading through these. So if you identify with what Roberta says, all you need to do, it's really simple steps. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, sign up. You can set up the bonus content tomorrow, and you're really making a decision that has a huge impact, positive impact on the podcast, the people who listen to it, and to you night after night after night. So I appreciate it. Roberta says, Sleep With Me became my bedtime buddy after learning about it from a close friend. I decided to ditch the ads and get Scoot's bedcasts quicker. I'm delighted to pay for something that I get value out of. I'm delighted to pay. Somewhere between the tangents and the abrupt switches of Scooter's spoken words, I drift into sleep, but I don't realize I was asleep until the morning when I awake. I receive more than I give. Thank you, Drew, for being a bedtime bore. Please continue boring me to sleep. My favorite bonus is a Ray or the All Intros or the Trader Joe's Fearless Flyers. I like listening to you go shopping, even though I don't like going shopping, grocery shopping. I adore supporting and helping defray costs for my good sleep. After I signed up, I received a personal video of Drew, and I believe the sincerity in those eyes made me grateful to be a participant in Sleep With Me. Wow, thanks so much, Roberta. So I guess that's in the end what Roberta said. Like, if you receive more than you give from the show, think about it's a pretty good investment, right? Like someone like Roberta is probably paying $120 or $240 a year, and hopefully Sleep With Me brings really like thousands of dollars of value to you every single night. So if that's the case, think about it and go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, PLUS. Sign up to support the show, and then you'll get a video from me tomorrow or later on in the week. Then you can set up the bonus content, when you're more well-rested. It really is just a few steps, and it makes a huge difference for me and the show. Thanks.